Okay, more from the recent document drop regarding the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr. Now, there was some information regarding James P. O'Connell in these documents. Now, in 1962, the CIA had a driver's license made for the agent O'Connell under the name James Paul Olds. That information was public in 2017. What's new in regards to this release is that the driver's license came from California. O'Connell was not involved in the assassination whatsoever, but his inclusion, information regarding him in these documents, show just how broad the investigation was and how broad their request for records were at that time. Now, throughout these documents, there's a lot of information that gives insight into the intelligence methods of the United States at that time. There is a memo from Arthur Schlesinger, who was an aide to JFK Sr. And in the memo, he referenced that the JFK's administration was critical of the CIA in its foreign policy shaping role. The memo cites the large presence of the CIA at U.S. embassies and in allied countries. A document details the CIA's use of fluoroscopic scanning as well. This is a technique that was developed for the detection of hidden microphones. There is a document that describes how the CIA had a system of secretly tagging and identifying public phone booths. The phones were tapped and the boxes were painted with a paint that was only visible under ultraviolet light. Now, also mentioned in this document drop is Gary Underhill. Gary Underhill was a World War II military intelligence agent. Most of the information regarding him and the conspiracy surrounding him was also released in the 2017 document drop. The conspiracy surrounding Underhill is that Underhill claimed that there was a CIA cabal behind the assassination of JFK Sr. The theory originally was published in Ramparts in 1967. Ramparts was a left leaning magazine. The magazine did cast a lot of doubts on the theory and cast doubts on the nature of how Underhill did die. What was released in this document drop were the remains of a 7-page memo, and most of the memo has been made public since the 2017 document drop. What was new was just a few sentences on a singular page. Keep in mind, Underhill died in 1964. It's officially deemed suicide. And Underhill's theory is based on a secondhand account that was published after his death. And I know that there were like some viral moments going crazy after the initial document drop this time in 2025, where people were acting like it was all new blockbuster information. No, there have been a couple document drops, and this time around there's like more bits and pieces that have been released. Nothing really new came out. Now, there are also people wondering why there are still redactions, given that Trump said that this document drop would be completely unredacted. You need to keep in mind that in 1992, per the JFK Records Act, that was a law that required all documents related to the death to be released within 25 years, with national security exceptions. Now, who has a hold of the documents? The National Archives. So if you want to check these out yourself, you can go to the National Archives website. The CIA and the FBI also have documents that have not yet been fully and officially accounted for. I'll have a little bit more information for you in part 2 that'll be linked in the comments. Part 2. Now let's talk a little bit more about the CIA and these documents. The documents do shed light on U.S. intelligence gathering, specifically during the Cold War, including some excerpts regarding Operation Mongoose. Now, Operation Mongoose was a top-secret campaign designed to destabilize Cuba's government at the time. According to a memo, the CIA had 1,500 agents overseas posing as State Department officials. This included 128 agents at the U.S. Embassy in Paris. Arthur Schlesinger, who we talked about in the previous video, warned that this would undermine the State Department in regard to foreign policy. The documents also show U.S. intelligence agencies attempting to overthrow foreign governments. Surprise, surprise, to no one. Okay? To no one. And that's probably also why the documents request in the investigation was so widespread and so broad, because they really didn't know as they were going through who could have wanted this because of their hands being so dirty. Now, many of the efforts were expansions on efforts that were already known about in regards to coups or assassinations or assassination attempts. Now, there was a 1963 communication that detailed intel going between operatives in Cuba and the CIA director's office regarding a plot to overthrow Fidel Castro. There's also a CIA memo that details E4 Deed, D-E-E-D. Now, E4 Deed was a set of covert activities with the purpose of removing then Dominican Republic President Rafael Trujillo's government. This included a segment of E4 Deed known as EMSLEW, EMSLEW, which was a cryptoquip for his removal by violent action. The memo then goes on to list the names of the CIA officers and others that were involved. Now, in May of 1961, Trujillo was assassinated. After his death, the U.S. cut diplomatic ties with the DR. Now, Trujillo died due to being shot on the highway en route to meet his mistress in San Cristobal. A chauffeur was with him driving. According to a CIA note, Trujillo wouldn't bring security with him on these encounters. Now, also in this document drop was information regarding Robert F. Kennedy Sr. There's 77 documents totaling 2,500 pages. And most are related to his activities as a senator and as AG. Two of the pages from these documents mentioned his 1968 assassination. Now, from what was released in 2018 on a 1968 Intel document, it discussed his death, increasing interest in his brother's death, and Jim Garrison's investigation into it. Now, Jim Garrison was at the time the New Orleans district attorney. And a direct quote from said document is as follows. The forthcoming trial of Sirhan, accused of the murder of Senator Kennedy, can be expected to cause a new wave of criticism and suspicion against the United States, claiming once more the existence of a sinister political murder conspiracy. So once again, they knew that the conspiracy theories would fly. They were taking note of the most notable ones. But there's really no bombshells that I've discovered thus far going through these documents. Like I said, you can take a look for yourself via the National Archives website. I'll keep digging. I'll bring you what I find.